Grab your cart, gas up your ox, and jump on. We are taking a ride down the high road and exploring the insanely popular Dungeons & Dragons adventure, Lost Mines of Phandelver. It's a solid, well-rounded adventure that can turn newbies into pros by introducing concepts of the game at a comfortable pace. Alright, let's get started. The adventure begins with the players on a cart drawn by ox, heading south on the high road before turning east, towards Phandelver. FedEx has yet to reach the Sword Coast, so Gundren Rockseeker has hired the players to escort a wagon of goods to the town of Phandelver. The players happen upon a gruesome scene. 2 dead horses, felled by arrow. Pour one out for our homie Mr. Ed. The scene is a Goblin Ambush, using the dead horses to lure unsuspecting targets. There's not a map for this encounter included in the starter kit, and it feels like an oversight on Wizards of the Coast's part. There are lots of maps for this encounter available online, and a Google search for Goblin Ambush should pull up plenty to choose from. Let's take a quick look at goblins, the chess pawns of the D&D world. Goblins are small, typically 3.5 feet tall. They have a relatively high AC, mostly due to their higher dexterity. They can be very stealthy, and have dark vision which makes them tricky to deal with at night. They aren't damage sponges as their hit points average only 7. They aren't terribly smart, but aren't dumb either. Motivated by greed and violence, they are often found in packs, with a single leader, usually the strongest, or as in this occasion, led by a bugbear in the nearby Cragmore hideout. When running goblins in combat, remember that they carry shortbows as well as scimitars, making them proficient in long-range combat as well as up-close and personal. They have a special ability, Nimble Escape, which allows them to disengage or hide as a bonus action. Use this to keep them very mobile, creating chaos in combat. There's no reason to think a goblin wouldn't run behind a tree and hide, then climb up the tree only to jump down on an enemy when they come looking for them. With that said, it's important for the DM as well as the players to take these goblins seriously. The players will at best be 4 versus 4 and depending on your table, possibly outnumbered. At level 1, this is a lethal encounter. A bad initiative roll could leave a player or 2 unconscious right at the start, further outnumbering those that remain. Taking cover is a good approach, forcing the goblins to give up their positions and come in for a closer fight, but they run the risk of the ox being targeted by the goblins, leaving them stranded with a cart and no way to pull it. The players will need to be careful in this encounter. Should they lose, they will find themselves waking up several hours later, their possessions gone, the wagon emptied, and the ox left grazing beside them. Assuming the players took the W on the Goblin Ambush, the players can search the scene, discovering empty saddlebags, and an empty map case, laying groundwork for the map hunt to come. Now's not a bad time to give them a rest as they are probably a little beat up. They likely will find some clues, and with a little dungeon master encouragement, the players should discover the well-beaten path just off the road which will lead them to Cragmore hideout. It can be as subtle as a perception check, revealing the small path leading to the north, concealed with some brush. Before heading down the path, let them know the path is narrow, and casually ask about the order they are walking it. As a dungeon master, you always want to be asking this, even if for no reason. You want to avoid your players inadvertently being trained to be on the lookout when you ask for marching order. Following the path will lead your band of merry misfits to their first encounter with traps. A quick note about traps. Traps in Dungeons & Dragons exist to create problems for the players to solve, and to build tension. In this part of the adventure, the players will encounter 2, and will learn quickly that danger exists just as much outside of initiative order as it does inside it. Clever trap design can produce interesting situations for players, as well as be extremely rewarding to thwart. After around 10 minutes of following the trail through the forest, they will face the first of 2 traps. A simple snare. The snare trap has a perception DC 12 to find it. This is a good chance to whet their beaks at traps in the game without sending them to a violent death at the hands of more evil-intentioned traps like those slicey things on the walls from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Triggering the trap leaves the victim comically suspended above the grounds, lulls all around. The party will either consider the situation and lower them down carefully, or drop them like it's hot with the ensnared player suffering fall damage of 1d6. Feel free to have fun with this, it's a great way to get them in the right mindset about both traps, and seeing the world around them as reality. Moving further down the path, the players will encounter the second of the 2 traps. This one has a little more teeth. With a DC 15 passive perception or a perception check, the players will spot the pit concealed with brush. If triggered, the victim can make a DC 10 dexterity check to avoid damage, otherwise taking 1d6 damage in the fall. That covers the Goblin Ambush. In our next video, the players will continue on, and discover the Cragmore hideout. We will discuss the ins and outs of the hideout, its amazing trap, its inhabitants, and the world of pain coming your players' way. Until then, go smash those goblins and smash that subscribe button while you're at it. See you next week, homies.